I'm Jackie Erskine, and I'm here as a volunteer for Cville Village, which is a grassroots organization that we would like to sort of bring you up to date with both the vision and the development as it stands right now. We are not up and running, but we are underway with great pleasure. With me to tell you about a couple of other aspects as we go along is the famous Sue Livermore. And the equally famous in Cville Village, Judy Seidler, who will talk with you about different parts as we go along. All of the three of us are professionals. A couple of us are still very active, and one of us is retired and a primary caregiver for a husband with dementia. We have backgrounds in our group, from social work to marketing to long-time geriatric care management experience, and a wide variety of people that are interested. In your chairs, along with a lot of other good pieces, is a brochure about the village, and you will find a volunteer form, which is also a contact information sheet. If you would like to be kept on the email list, I can promise you there are not many emails that come out. So letting you know what is going on and keeping you involved is part of our pleasure for today. The presentation would not be here if it weren't for Trevor Williams, who has exemplified for me personally what a good neighbor is. Literally, Trevor lives across the street from me. He moves to town. He says, "Oh yes, I do tutoring on computers," and I say, there is an angel somewhere who has put Trevor in my neighborhood. So thank you, Trevor, very much for all this help and energy. This is a quote from the National Network, and I want to tell you a couple of things about the National Network, because the Village movement is a movement that is growing by leaps and bounds. Wonder why so many people across the country are interested in finding how to support seniors as they age in their own homes and their own communities. Villages are a grassroots effort to address the current and unfolding challenges of an older America. Originally started in the Beacon Hill neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts in 2002, the village concept arose out of community members' desire to reside in their own homes while being able to access the services that address their changing lifestyles as they aged. At its core, the village movement is consumer and customer driven. So that's the quote from their website. And the third piece of paper that you have in your chair from the village group is a wonderful chart that shows, with a nice circle in the middle, or oval, I guess, to be technically accurate, a way that the larger network has put together and conceptualized for us how this movement draws together in a network all that we find that we need as we age. So our local village, with a nice logo gifted to us by a local artist, Terry Coffey, is in its second full year of development. We've been connected with this National Village movement since our first focus group meetings in the summer of 2012. The website for the National Village is a rich trove of information, and you get a wonderful overview about what's happening across the country. That web address is on the back of the brochure that you see, vtvnetwork.org. They're very active villages in the Washington, D.C. area, and when you look at the map on the website, you will see that there are clusters around the country where lots of villages have been developed and other spaces not so much. The VTV network reports that as of now, there are 140 villages open, active, running. That means they have their membership set up, their organization set up, their services in place, at least initially. And there are 125 more like Cville Village that are in development at the present time. One of the delightful aspects of these many villages has been their formulation to respond to the specifics of their own communities. So nobody's created some sort of program and force-fit it into the community, but rather, as I said, the grassroots community effort of seniors engaged in seeing what services, programs, and resources are most desirable for their community. One of the sayings that's been often repeated is, when you've seen one village, you've seen one village. These next two YouTube videos came from the VTV Network website, and they introduced some of the speakers from last year's national conference, and I thought you might like to get a flavor of them.
I'm from Tierra Santa Village of San Diego.
I'm affiliated with the Beacon Hill Village.
East Falls Village.
Beacon Hill Village.
Westchester Playa Village.
Tierra Santa Village. DuPont Circle Village.
I'm a member of Ashby Village, Berkeley, California.
Beacon Hill Village. Mill City Commons. Capitol Hill Village.
First Christian Church in Riverside, California.
What people really get from the village is friends.
I'm the national coordinator of the Village to Village Network.
Next, Village, San Francisco.
I'm with Ashby Village.
Palisades Village.
Scripps Ranch Elder Care Alliance in San Diego, California.
Folks at Home in Swanee, Tennessee.
I'm a member of North Oakland Village.
Hilton Head Island Safe Harbor.
Brighter Horizons Village.
I am with Ashby Village.
DuPont Circle Village in Washington, D.C.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see the impact that the village movement has, because I think it's just starting.
And I do see it as a social movement, and I see it even more so as a result of this conference.
Meet the coolest old people on the planet.
So we are building community.
This journey has many chapters, and just because one is becoming older or retiring from a lifelong career or even an encore career, it doesn't necessarily mean that life is over, and it doesn't necessarily diminish the importance of home, family, and community.
People want to continue being independent and want to continue living in their communities.
Community is kind of an interesting word, but it's really an extension of your family.
I looked around my own community one day and discovered that I knew nothing about the senior services available to my friends and neighbors. And when I looked a little deeper, the reason I knew nothing was because there was nothing.
The village movement is coming at a time where it needs to be here, because as increasing numbers of people are coming into their later years, the systems that we have in place are not designed to effectively serve.
Assisted living or skilled care or a retirement community is something that I did not look forward to.
There is an enormous amount of caring and energy and determination to reach out, to change, to grow.
The ability to contribute is just incalculable.
The village offers that opportunity for us to stay independent.
It's just really important to life, especially as we age.
We've led lives of extraordinary diversity. We have been given the gift of time, the gift of health, the gift of education.
Nothing is like the village.
Just people helping one another.
It's expanding their lives.
We're building community, we're building connections.
And we are so determined to change life in a better way for us and for the rest of us.
Articulated in one voice, something that millions of Americans believe in their hearts.
And I really think it has something to do with our desire to change the image of aging.
The village movement can only grow. I mean, as we all know, there are more and more of us who are aging. We've grown up at a time when we really were able to and demanded the ability to kind of be in charge of our own lives, and that's only going to increase. I think that there will just be more and more villages.
We're not talking in terms of 50 or 100 in the country. You might be talking about 50 or 100 in your state, or 50 or 100 in your metropolitan area as time goes by. So I think this is just the beginning.
So I too think this is just the beginning. The village is not a bricks and mortar place like a retirement community. It is an option. And it's an option to, as you heard, allow seniors who want to stay in their own homes, in their own communities, and receive the services that they need as their needs change, and also to contribute in meaningful ways. I discovered when I retired about 10 years ago that the opportunities to volunteer were unlimited. Could have been anywhere at any time, and actually I jumped in with too many feet for a bit just to see what it was that drew me. And what I found over time is that this volunteer-based membership organization has with it the capacity to step in and do what you can and step back when you need to. And that's been an important part for me of the development of the village. The village is a network of neighborhoods. And we have in our brochure, neighbors helping neighbors. So I like to imagine this as the kind of neighborly community idea that the image of village brings to mind. Members are not fitted into programs or into available resources, but rather they're able to access those as are needed and as their needs change over time. So why a village? As I said, and as you hear, the option to remain at home as long as possible, the flexibility of the services, and as you heard Susan Moore say in the Beacon Hill person in the video clip, an inclination of our group of elders to be proactive. And I see that a community like Charlottesville, or a community that includes and wants to keep their elders active, is an enriched community. That we are actually probably in that social shifting where we learn to value the wisdom of the elders rather than, as was said earlier, putting them out at pasture. The social, physical, mental, and economic benefits of aging in place are being studied and reported with regularity. Some of the reality factors include economic ones, and they also include social ones. As we heard in the presentation about the lodge, one of the huge needs for the social interaction. And the village, as it is up and running, allows an opportunity for social connections in many different ways. The purpose of villages is succinctly said in this statement. The purpose of villages is to enable people to age in place as well as they can, for as long as they can, for as little as they can. We've got a lot of investment, many of us, in our homes, and it makes sense to maximize that investment. So why a village in Charlottesville? You know that. You know that. You're actually witnessing by your presence and the activity in this Aging in Place Roundtable why a village is so right for this community. The important thing to stress is that Cville Village is not about creating more businesses or more services. It's not about forming support groups or forming other kinds of gatherings that it imposes on people. Cville Village will not duplicate any services at all, but rather to provide in the community just what you are doing here, which is that network. People like to talk about it as a one-stop shop where you join the village and then you can call and say, I need a ride to the doctor's appointment. When we acknowledge what we have going on in Charlottesville, in our work, we have seen that we have very different kinds of neighborhoods. We've been working with one interested neighborhood, Woolen Mills, through a pilot project, and the residents in Woolen Mills have been surveyed, given their input about services that they might like, and the response will be designed and will be up and running soon for this pilot project. This neighborhood looks different from another very interested group in Earlysville, or the potential for a neighborhood to get neighborhood village group to get underway in North Downtown. So the goals of the village are to collaborate, to coordinate, and to connect. Some of the potential services, what would one get from the membership, we realize as we work along that it's really important to start small. And with this overriding vision that one call does it all, we understand that we need to really know all of the resources that you bring and all of the resources that other nonprofits bring into the Charlottesville area. And we intend to use volunteers, focusing on services that were asked for in our initial survey: transportation, light home repairs and chores, yard and garden help, and friendly visits to those who might be otherwise alone. If I may tell you a village moment, at the risk of embarrassing another neighbor, Michael, the middle of the summer I had knee surgery, and at the same time 2 of those funny little halogen lights over my kitchen sink burned out. They're only reachable if you stand on a ladder. A ladder was not an option. But I snagged my neighbor Michael on the street. Thank you, Michael. And he said, sure. I had the bulbs, I just couldn't reach them. That's a village moment. That's a neighbors helping neighbors. And that's why I'm glad I live in the neighborhood that I do. The access to community activities is an important piece. There's so much going on. When we were in Charlottesville in 2006 looking for a house to buy, moving here from another state, the realtor made sure that she took us to the senior center and that we were well informed about what services and programs and fun things they were doing at the senior center. But a lot of times, even though we see the jaunt buses running in and out of a place like that, we don't really get the nitty-gritties of the difficulty of access. If you are going to ride the jaunt bus, you know what you need to do? You need to make a reservation 24 hours ahead of time. That's reasonable from their point of view. But it's not reasonable if you wake up in the morning and your throat is so sore and you live by yourself and you know that it would be a good idea if you can get into the doctor. Or it would be a great thing if you decide, I really feel like going to that yoga class at the senior center. Or it would really be nice to go to the library today, but I didn't plan it ahead and I haven't called and made these arrangements. So these are some of the ways that I imagine the access to actually unfold. 2 parts of these potential services and resources that Sue is going to talk with us about are that we intend, as we develop, to carefully vet and choose vendors for all those professional services that you have to offer the community, and to carefully choose some business partners when the need for being in our homes is really requiring that home health care services be offered. So to tell you just a tiny bit about membership, this is all still part of the vision. We know that other villages have worked with a small annual membership fee. Some villages are able to hire several staff. We imagine starting with perhaps one person who is a coordinator. And we hope to have the potential for income-adjusted memberships and also perhaps associate memberships of people who don't necessarily feel that they want to use the village services but would like to supported in some way. Our monthly meetings are open to all. It's the fourth Fridays of the month. I think that's on another slide as well. And the email address is should be on your brochure. So we are still in the exploratory and development phase. These are some of the things that we have been able to do in this period of time. And I won't read them all to you, but I will say it represents a lot of work from a lot of dedicated volunteers. And as I said, the monthly general meeting, the fourth Fridays at 4 o'clock, is open to anybody who is interested. And when your Judy talks with you, she'll tell you how to stay in contact with us. We've also received contributions from some foundations and community grants and gifts that have helped us with our Woolen Mills project. We've received a gift from JAMO, from Women Who Care, from Mama Works, and from Give for Good. And this, of course, will continue. It's funny to try and start something and have literally a budget of zero. You can imagine. So it's been an interesting process even to do this. Our next phase of development, we think we still have 1 to 2 years to go to really have the hub, Cville Village, established and be able to offer memberships. We think some clusters will begin sooner, different little neighborhoods that will start up. We have to establish what that membership process looks like. We want to continue these kinds of presentations, and we will have a pretty in-depth training program for our volunteers that will actually be offering services and knowing when we've reached the limit of what a volunteer should do, and we should invite in the professionals. I'm going to turn this over to Sue and Sue to Judy for a few more aspects of the village development, and I would ask you if you would just take a minute or two and notice if you have any questions or thoughts that you would like to ask, because we hope not to talk so long that we don't give you time for questions. We found that your questions have been some of the most important pieces of what's gone on for us. So if you do have questions, we will, if you would hold them until these two have finished, then there should be time to answer those. So if you think you might forget it, just make a note so we can answer your questions in a bit.
The guiding principle of a village is to provide comprehensive support to village members. At the core of that support are responsive volunteers, as you've heard, and strategic partnerships that have been leveraged with existing community resources, both in the business sector and in the social services areas. Part of my presentation is going to be a little bit repetitive from what Jackie has already shared with you, but where it is repetitive, these are really key points for you to remember when you're thinking about the village, or someone may even ask you about the village. It's important for you to know that a village does not create nor duplicate services that already exist in a community. In other words, we're not going out to develop our own home care agencies or recruit our own, if you will, under an umbrella services. As you've heard, for well over a year, actually almost 2, leadership has been hard at work planning and developing Cville Village. We've started researching the services that are currently being offered by both not-for-profit and for-profit organizations throughout the greater Charlottesville-Albemarle area, including senior centers, plural, government agencies, and diverse community-based businesses. As part of the Woolen Mills project, a recently conducted survey asked residents who live in Woolen Mills to identify what the most important areas of support are that they need now. The 3 top responses, you've heard others as well, were transportation, yard work, and inside home maintenance. Of course, there were other areas of need that Woolen Mills residents identified, and some said that they may require services in the future, but there's nothing now that's imminent for them. Some mentioned services that a volunteer would not be able to provide, like medically oriented home care, help with legal matters, financial issues, and the needs that most people have as they age. And there'll always be situations in a village where members can no longer stay in their homes. So housing placements and ancillary services will also be part of developing a resource list. But more about that in a minute. The Program Services and Volunteer Committee, of which I am a member, is currently working to identify existing community resources that can respond to the 3 top areas already identified and expressed in the Woolen Mills survey. Then we'll be contacting other areas of professional services that a person might need in order to remain at home. We do plan to have a short list of available services to folks in Woolen Mills, as this is being considered a pilot program in a mini village. After initial contacts are made and vendor lists are compiled by specialty, each vendor within that specialty will go through a significant vetting process. After initial contacts are made and vendor lists are compiled by specialty, each vendor within that specialty will go through, repeating, a significant vetting process. Once the vetting process is completed, listed businesses and services will be asked to provide discounted fees and a timely response to village members who may contact them. Those who agree will be listed on a database of preferred providers. The database will be a reference list used to refer preferred providers to village members in need of professional services. It is our intention to have Cville Village a one-stop shop for its members, where with one phone call, a member can get help for a needed task from a volunteer and or be put in touch with a vetted, reasonably priced and dependable professional who is invested not only in what they do, but also in their clients and the greater Charlottesville-Albemarle community. Judy?
Hi everyone. I'm Judy Zeitler. I've been in this world of social work and geriatric care management for over 20 years, and I've watched this movement take off over the last 13 years, and moving to Charlottesville gives me a great pleasure to try to work on bringing it here. I'm on the board, and I've been working for the last year and a half to try to make this happen. I think we've passed the exploratory phase with our surveys, and I want to thank Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission for being our fiscal sponsor. Billy Campbell is here. They've helped tremendously with the work that needs to be done. I'm here to pitch and plead for community support by making a grassroots effort, which is volunteers, the worker bees. I know we'll be vetting lots of your services, but in the meantime, in this development phase, which the Village to Village Network has this checklist. This is only the development phase. It's quite extensive, and it gives all of the villages the framework of how to go, whether you're having a volunteer organization only or having an executive director or coordinator. So we would love for you to fill out the volunteer or email list. The forms, you can just put them over here, and we will add you to our list. Come to our meetings, give us a call, email us if you have any questions. I know on the brochure the website is there, but the email address will be on the website. The email address did not get on this. And my email address is on here, Carolyn Benjamin's. I also wanted to tell you, if anybody is interested, the actual village-to-village network conference, the yearly conference in Washington, D.C. this year. The last 2 years before it was in St. Louis. We're going to go for some of us. Helen Plaisance is on our board. She's back here. She and I are planning to go. If anybody has any interest, we can tell you about the 29th to the 1st of October. Some of the tasks that we need, worker bees, we're working on the business plan, we're working on marketing, we're working on our program and services. We know one village is just one village, so we're deciding on which programs, the 3 that have been mentioned, services I should say, but we need your help in doing that. The other piece is that if we can find in developing clusters within the neighborhoods, if we could have representatives within the different neighborhoods come and work with us to try to organize the neighbors within these neighborhood clusters. Right now we're working with the neighborhood associations and we're doing presentations. If you would like us, we have an outreach committee. We would love to do more presentations. We have this incredible piece of work that Jackie and Trevor put together, and we'd like to take it on the road. So if you have any other ideas, we're open to it all. This takes it takes a village to put this together. Thank you.